Pokemon XYZ is known for having some of the best fight scenes in all of Pokemon. Some of the best fight scenes being Ash Greninja vs Sawyer's Mega Sceptile or Alon's Mega Charizard vs Ash Greninja. But as good as these fights are, I don't think people remember or even know about some of the other goated fights that are being heavily slept on. My name is Pokey, and in today's video I bring you the most underrated fights in the Pokemon XYZ series. Now don't get me wrong, the final League fights are good, but there are some fights that not only rival the League fights, but are just overall some of my favorite fight scenes in the entire show. So I'm going to be selecting 5 fights of what I believe are the most underrated fights in the entire series. And if you guys enjoyed this video, I make a ton of XYZ videos like this one on my channel, as it's my favorite series, but you'll find tons of other great videos like Did Go, Ruin Pokemon Journeys, and such. So subscribe, because it's free and it would mean a lot to me. But anyways, enjoy the ranking. Coming in at number 5 is Noivern vs Zapdos. Oh my gosh, this fight was so good. So for those of you who don't know, Noibat hatched from an egg and it was kind of like the baby boy of the group, and the one Pokemon he was fond of was Hawlucha. And their friendship was just so adorable, and when Hawlucha fell from the sky against his fight with Zapdos and Noibat evolved to save him, that was so peak. And not only did bro fight Zapdos, but he freaking won too. His first ever battle was against a legendary and he won, which is a crazy impressive feat. And the camera work during the fight scene was amazing too. Seeing both of them flying through the air, it felt very reminiscent of the Aang vs Ozai battleground too, which I really liked. A very slept on fight indeed. Coming in at number 4 is Hawlucha vs Heliolisk. Oh my gosh, this fight was just so top tier. I genuinely think this fight scene had an animation that is still good today. Just look at the fluidity of Hawlucha's attacks on Heliolisk, and the straight up gut punch to Heliolisk knocking him out cold was so clean. And of course the way that Ash and Hawlucha both found a way to counter Parabolic Charge was so cool too. Once they knew that, they sort of locked in. Genuinely speaking, I believe this is by far one of, if not Hawlucha's best match in the series, and I know that might be a hot take, but bro, the relentless attacks from Hawlucha was so pleasing to look at, man. So good. Heliolisk was doing decently, I will admit, but he had nothing on the go. Also, before we move on, I had to say Heliolisk so many times, and I had to repeat it because I kept saying it wrong. It's just a hard word. What the frick, bro? Heliolisk. Try saying that 5 times fast, all right? I had to redo that freaking voice recording 5 different times. Oh my god. Coming in at number 3 is an easy one, but let me just start off by saying I don't hear this battle get talked about enough. The fight that I'm referring to is Pikachu versus Karina's Mega Lucario. Bro, the amount of hype this battle had ever since the Mega Lucario arc with Karina trying to master and control Lucario's rage, oh my gosh, bro. The fact both of them were going blow for blow was so good too. Not to mention the amount of Dragon Ball level clashes they had were insane. Like when they both clashed with their respective elemental ball, that being Electro Ball and Aura Sphere. Oh my gosh, bro, that was so good. I cut out. That's how high pitched I went. Not to mention the screams Pikachu yelled out during that entire fight scene gave me straight up chills. I know this is gonna sound corny, but that has to be some of the best chews I've heard from Pikachu in forever. The fight was so hyped up, I was actually scared Ash and Pikachu were gonna lose, bro. Like, holy man, it gave me goosebumps. The match also had a few impact frames if you noticed too. They put some insane effort into this fight and it paid off beautifully. Or beautify, get it? Because I'm gonna bang my head. What the frick? One of Pikachu's most underrated battles for me. Now coming up with top 2, that spot is reserved for one of the best fight scenes in the entire series. No, I genuinely mean it when I say this. That fight being Talonflame versus Unfezant. I just have no words. Just look at the smooth frames and overall spectacle. The amount of clashes these two birds had were incredible to say the least. It felt like an actual Dragon Ball fight, but if Goku and Vegeta were birds, bro. The fight was so fast and smooth, like oh my gosh, bro. Some of the cleanest animation in the entire series, and I mean that. This fight, in my opinion, is the pinnacle of flying type fights, period, point blank. The different colors between Talonflame's red and Unfezant's gold were so good, and that Unfezant with how little screen time it had was already better than Ash's back in black and white. And I don't think anyone's disagreeing with me on that one, bro. Holy freak, that Unfezant was ugly. My only complaint with this battle is the fact that the battle came out as a draw, which I really didn't like since Talonflame deserved that win, man. The dude fought Moltres for crying out loud. Like, come on. That being said, though, I think he would have won if he used Brave Bird at least one more time instead of holding it out at the very end, but that's just me being salty, man. Overall, though, a 10 out of 10 fight. I replay that fight non-stop sometimes just to get a nostalgic feel. Man, it's so good. And now we are at the number 1 spot, but before I tell you, I'm going to list off some honorable mentions first. First one being Frogadier versus Meowstic. The fact that you could see the visible fate of Ash Greninja was so cool. I remember as a kid screaming after I saw that. The fact that he tried his hardest to hold back the Side Strike too was so cold. It was a peak foreshadow moment too. Secondly is the Noivern versus Salamence fight. I'm telling you guys, flying type battles are phenomenal and nobody's changing my mind. I think flying type battles overall peaked at XYZ. You couldn't get better than those. The clashes matches between both of them in the sky were just so clean, and whenever Noivern used Boom Burst, the animation was so fire. And my last honorable mention is the fight between Noivern and Metang. I know, a fight you probably weren't expecting, but holy, the animation! Noivern using acrobatics was just so peak, and the animation when they were both zooming around as well as the blow for blow exchange they had, each clash felt weighty and heavy. I loved it. I'm telling you guys, these fights cooked with animation. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the #1 most underrated fight in the entire Pokemon XYZ series, in my humble opinion, is Goodra versus Luxray. I just have no words for this fight. When Clement left the group to train by himself when we finally got to the Lumio City gym, oh my gosh, I was on the edge of my seat. And seeing Luxray fight Goodra was not just a spectacle, but a work of mother freaking art. Goodra getting hit constantly, and Ash not attacking even once while you're just wondering where this is all gonna go. And keep in mind, this is one of Goodra's first battles after his evolution too, and seeing Rain Dance for the first time was so cool too. And then as soon as we saw Bide come in, and after all that damage Goodra took in and released back out, they had to replay it 3 different times to show how big of a blast it was. This match isn't #1 in terms of animation, because if it was in terms of animation, Talonflame and Unfezant would be #1 in my opinion. But the reason this match isn't #1 is because the amount of strategy that took place in this fight made it so much more epic. The wind flowing outwards and then the white sketch of Luxray's face, bro, it felt like watching one of those Black Clover fights with the drawing sketches. Oh my gosh, they look so good. And the fact this was Goodra's best performance screams 1,000 words, because bro got done so dirty in the league, man, and I will never forgive them for what they did to my baby. But overall, those are what I believe are the most underrated fights in the Pokemon XYZ series. I definitely miss some good fights, but that's just because there's so many of them, bro. Like, I just can't choose. It took me ages to come up with these rankings, man. Let me know which battles I missed out on this video that you believe should be in the top 5 in the comments below. But wait, don't click off this video, because I got one thing to show you guys, and from my longtime fans, you already know what's coming. That's right, we only have one video remaining until the Tale of Zygarde is finally, after so long, released on YouTube. For those of you who don't know, my Tale series is based on characters or regions in the Pokemon series, where I turned it into a cinematic experience with tons of editing for the epic moments or fight scenes while still retaining a storytelling charm to it. I highly recommend for those of you who haven't yet watched my past Tale videos to go and watch them, because they're good, but the Tale of Zygarde is going to be the best one yet. So make sure to subscribe so you're notified. And guys, it's been real. It's time for the final video before the Tale of Zygarde. That's all Yuki wrote, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.